U.S. President Donald Trump blamed Ukraine after the meeting in Riyadh and criticized Zelensky for not being at the table. Trump said, "You were at the table for 3 years. You could have ended the war long ago." He also claimed that Zelensky's approval rating had dropped to 4%.
The U.S. and Russian delegations sitting at the table in Riyadh without Ukraine led to a setback in Washington, Kavat. The meeting between the U.S. and Russia in Saudi Arabia was a surprise for us. We learned about it from the media.
I heard that Ukraine was upset for not having a seat at the table. In fact, they have been at the table for 3 years, even much earlier.
During Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Ankara, he criticized the Trump administration, prompting a response from the U.S. president. Donald Trump's reaction was harsh. Zelensky criticized, saying, "You have been at the table for 3 years already. You could have ended the war long ago."
You should never have started this. You could have made a deal. Even an average negotiator could have resolved this years ago without much loss of territory or life.
Trump didn't stop there. Just like Russian President Vladimir Putin, he reminded that Zelensky's term was over, emphasizing the need for a general election and claiming that Zelensky's approval rating had dropped to 4%.
There is a situation in Ukraine where elections are not being held. Martial law is in place. I hate to say this, but the Ukrainian leader's approval rating has dropped to 4%.
Trump implied that Zelensky needs to be re-elected as president before sitting at the table. "This is not a matter of Russia, it's a demand from me and many other countries," he said. However, he did not name the other countries. A criticism of Zelensky came from Elon Musk, who is seen as Trump's right-hand man. The tech billionaire stated that he completely agrees with the assessment that Zelensky does not want peace, but rather war and power. Zelensky's response to Trump was harsh. He announced that according to the latest polls, his approval rating is 57%. "Therefore, if someone tries to remove me from power right now, it won't work," he said. Zelensky said that Trump is living inside a disinformation bubble created by Russia. Zelensky also criticized Trump's mining deal proposals harshly. Zelensky stated that they did not take the draft without security guarantees seriously, saying, "I cannot sell my country." Zelensky also reacted to the US-Russia meeting in Saudi Arabia, stating, "They are bringing Putin out of isolation. You might think you can solve everything with agreements, but this is impossible because no one in Ukraine trusts Putin," he said. A response from Trump was not delayed. The U.S. president called his Ukrainian counterpart a mediocre comedian and a dictator. He claimed that the Ukrainian leader was trying to maintain a bribery scheme. Trump stated that Zelensky needs to act quickly, otherwise there will be no country called Ukraine left.
Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke about the Russia-US talks in Riyadh. He expressed that Russia is ready to return to negotiations with Ukraine. Putin indicated that diplomatic missions in Washington and Moscow will commence their duties. Referring to the war in Ukraine, he said, "The solution is Russia's priority. Russia is ready to return to negotiations." Putin mentioned that the topic of energy was also brought up during the Riyadh talks. The U.S. stated, "We acted without bias. We don't need mediators for mediation." The Russian leader also touched upon the possibility of meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. "I would be happy about that, but preparations should be made mutually," he said.